My beloved child, I speak to you now with urgency, not fear, but holy alertness. On December 21st, the veil around your life thinned for a reason. Archangel Michael says, I rushed into your atmosphere today because something unseen was moving against you. This is not coincidence. This is not imagination. This moment was appointed. Someone attempted to spiritually redirect your destiny, and heaven responded faster than darkness expected. Listen carefully. What was planned against you was subtle, not loud. It was not meant to destroy you in one blow, but to slowly bend your path, one decision, one delay, one distraction at a time. The enemy did not come roaring, he came whispering. And that is why Archangel Michael was dispatched immediately. You were not meant to notice it on your own. Heaven stepped in before the night could close. There are consequences tied to spiritual timing. When a warning arrives and is ignored, momentum begins to shift. That is why this message feels heavy in your spirit. That is why your heart started racing when you saw this. This is not entertainment. This is interception. Archangel Michael did not rush without cause. He is the commander of divine defense, and today he stood between you and an unseen detour. Something tried to touch your identity. Not your money first. Not your relationships first. Your direction. If your direction changes, everything else follows. That is why this attempt was dangerous. It was designed to move you just a few degrees off course, enough that 6 months from now, you would wonder how you ended up so far from where God promised. But hear this clearly, it did not succeed. Archangel Michael says, I arrived before permission was granted. You understand what that means. Some battles only move forward when the human agrees unknowingly, through fear, through doubt, through exhaustion. You were tired. You were questioning. You were vulnerable. That moment was targeted. But heaven blocked the signature. The document never got signed in the spirit. December 21st is not just a date. It is a spiritual checkpoint. What passes today determines what follows into the next season. That is why the warning is sharp. If you do not open this immediately, if you brush it off, minimize it, or delay, then what was stopped temporarily will look for another opening before the night ends. Not because God wants to scare you, but because spiritual laws are active whether we pay attention or not. Archangel Michael is standing watch, but you must stay aware. Notice how certain thoughts have been repeating lately. Thoughts that sound logical, reasonable, even responsible, but they drain your fire. Thoughts that say later it's not the right time, you can wait. That is the redirection. Destiny is rarely stolen dramatically. It is postponed quietly until the heart forgets what it once burned for. You were marked early. That is why resistance followed you from places that should have been safe. That is why you had to grow up fast. That is why you felt different even when you tried to blend in. The enemy has always known there was something about your future that threatened his plans. This recent attempt was not random. It was strategic, because you are close to a turning point. Archangel Michael says, they tried to move the clock. But heaven guards time as well as territory. Right now, angels are repositioning around your decisions. Not your entire life, your next steps. Small choices matter more than you think in this window. What do you say yes to? What do you ignore? What do you postpone? The enemy only needed one unguarded moment, but instead, you are receiving divine interruption. Do not panic. Panic is not from God. Clarity is. Take a breath. Place your hand over your chest if you can. Feel that steady pressure. That is not anxiety. That is confirmation. Your spirit recognizes truth before your mind explains it. This message arrived because you are still aligned enough to hear it. Archangel Michael is not accusing you. He is protecting you. He is saying, stay present. Stay away. Stay responsive. Tonight is not about making huge moves. It is about not drifting, about not handing authority to confusion, fatigue, or fear. There is a reason this warning came before nightfall. Darkness works best when light is ignored, not when light is absent. And you were given light in time. What was meant to redirect you will now expose itself instead. The plan will collapse under its own weight. The very attempt will become evidence that God is accelerating your protection. But your awareness is part of the victory. This is not the end of the message. This is the beginning of your realignment. Archangel Michael is still here. He has more to reveal. And what comes next will explain why this attack happened now, and what heaven is preparing to release in its place. Beloved soul, now that your spirit has been alerted, Archangel Michael draws closer, not with alarm, but with precision. There is a reason the interruption happened today and not weeks ago. Heaven allowed you to feel the disturbance so you would not mistake comfort for safety. The calm you sensed earlier was not peace. It was pause. And pause, when misread, can become permission. That is why this moment matters more than it appears on the surface. Archangel Michael says that the attempted redirection did not come from an obvious enemy. It came through something familiar. A routine. A pattern. A person or situation you already knew how to navigate. That is what made it dangerous. When the threat looks unfamiliar, you guard yourself. But when it wears the face of normal, you relax your discernment. The enemy studies rhythms, not just weaknesses. He waits for predictability. And recently, your life became predictable enough for him to attempt an entry. This does not mean you failed. It means you were human. You have been carrying more than you admit. Responsibility has weighed on you quietly. Expectations, both spoken and unspoken, have stacked up. And in that weight, you began to crave ease, not rebellion. That craving opened a small window, not for destruction, but for delay. If the enemy can't stop what God promised, he tries to slow it until you stop believing it matters. Archangel Michael says, they wanted you tired, not sinful. Because tired people make concessions they would never make with rested faith. That is why this warning came wrapped in urgency but not condemnation. Heaven is not disappointed in you. Heaven is protecting the investment placed inside you. There is something assigned to your obedience that affects more than just your own life. Other people's breakthroughs are downstream from your alignment. If your destiny bends, theirs gets delayed too. That is why the resistance increased quietly instead of loudly. Right now, you may feel an internal tug of war. One part of you wants to go back to normal, to scroll past this and breeze easy. Another part knows something shifted and cannot be unseen. That second voice is your spirit agreeing with heaven. Follow that one. Comfort is not confirmation. Alignment is. Archangel Michael is repositioning you internally before anything changes externally. This is important. If your surroundings changed first, fear would rise. But because your understanding is being adjusted first, peace will follow the correction. That is how divine order works. God secures the inner terrain before he moves the outer pieces. There is also something you need to release tonight. Not dramatically, not publicly, but decisively. A mental agreement you made during a low moment. A sentence you said to yourself like, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I missed it. Those words matter more than you think. Words spoken in exhaustion still echo in the spirit. But the good news is this: words can be revoked. Archangel Michael says, authority returns when agreement is withdrawn. You do not need a long prayer. You need clarity. Even now, quietly, you can say, I take that back. Heaven hears it. The atmosphere responds. What tried to latch onto that agreement loses legal standing. This is not superstition. This is spiritual law. As this realignment happens, you may notice resistance increase briefly, not because things are getting worse, but because what was hidden is being exposed. Do not interpret exposure as failure. Exposure is proof that protection is active. What comes into the light loses its power to steer you. If this message is resonating deeply, do not keep it to yourself. When you engage, by liking this video, sharing it with someone who needs clarity, or leaving a comment, you are not helping an algorithm. You are amplifying a warning that could intercept someone else's detour. Subscribe to stay connected to these timely messages, because alignment is not a one-time moment. It is a maintained position. And if you feel stirred, speak it. Your comment is not small. Engagement is agreement, and agreement carries weight in the spirit. Archangel Michael also reminds you that community matters in moments like this. Isolation weakens discernment. That is why even watching this now is significant. You were led here so you would not process this alone. There is strength in shared awareness. Heaven often confirms direction through repetition, through voices aligning, through messages meeting you from different angles. Before the night ends, choose presence over autopilot. Pay attention to what you feel prompted to pause, delay, or reconsider. Not everything urgent is important, and not everything important feels urgent. Ask for wisdom, not signs. Wisdom will guide you gently without drama. This is not about fear of consequences. It is about honor for timing. Destiny responds to attentiveness. And right now, heaven is attentive to you. Archangel Michael remains on guard. What was meant to redirect you has already lost momentum. But what is coming next will require you to stay awake. Not anxious, not tense, just awake. Because the next movement will not feel like a warning. It will feel like an invitation. And you will need to recognize it when it arrives. Chosen one, there is a shift happening beneath the surface that words can barely contain. Yet your spirit already senses it. Archangel Michael steps forward now, not with a sword raised, but with a scroll opened. This part is not about the attack anymore. It is about the revelation that came because of the attack. Some things are only revealed when they are challenged. And what was challenged in your life exposed something powerful that had been hidden in plain sight. Archangel Michael says that the attempted redirection failed because your destiny carries a seal. This seal was placed long before you understood prayer, long before you understood purpose. It is a mark of assignment. That is why interference came at a moment when you were transitioning internally. Heaven does not guard what is ordinary with this level of speed. It only responds this quickly when something irreplaceable is involved. You may have felt recently like you were standing between versions of yourself. Not fully who you used to be, but not yet who you are becoming. That in-between space is dangerous only if you misunderstand it. The enemy tries to exploit transitions because transitions feel unstable. But heaven specializes in transitions. Scripture is full of them. Wilderness seasons, waiting rooms, silent stretches. All of them are woos, not graves. Archangel Michael says, they mistook your quiet for weakness. But your quiet was consecration. What is emerging now is discernment on a new level. Not suspicion, not fear. Discernment. You will begin to notice things without trying. Patterns will reveal themselves. Words will land differently. Some invitations will suddenly feel heavy, even if they once excited you. This is not loss. This is refinement. God is narrowing your path so acceleration can happen without collision. There is also a truth you must hear clearly. Not everyone who had access to you will have access to the next version of you. This is not punishment. It is protection. Some connections were seasonal, even if they lasted years. Letting go does not dishonor the past. It honors the future. Archangel Michael is helping you close doors without guilt and open gates without fear. The reason this had to be addressed before nightfall is because night represents unconscious agreement. What you fall asleep thinking about often settles into the subconscious. Heaven wanted to intercept not just your actions, but your rest. Peaceful sleep tonight is part of the protection. When you rest without fear, you declare trust. And trust disarms anxiety at its root. If you have been questioning whether you are truly guided, let this settle it. Guidance does not always come as instructions. Sometimes it comes as interruption. You were interrupted because you are being led. And led people are watched closely by heaven and by opposition. But only one of those has final authority. Archangel Michael is now standing not just around you, but ahead of you. He is guarding conversations you have not had yet. Decisions you have not faced yet. Opportunities that are already moving toward you. This is why the enemy rushed. He sensed movement before you did. But heaven sensed it first. There is a promise tied to your obedience in small things over the next few days. Not dramatic obedience. Subtle obedience. Listening when something feels off. Acting when something feels aligned. Speaking when silence would be easier. These moments will compound quickly. What looks insignificant now will make sense later. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not catching up. You are right on time, even after resistance. God builds margin into destiny for moments like this. Grace covers interruption. Mercy restores momentum. Now receive this gently. Do not rush past it. Type "I receive divine alignment" in the comments if this message is confirming what your spirit already knows. Blessing code 914 has just been released over your life. And hear this final word as a sacred invitation. This message did not reach you by accident, and it will not end with you. Every seed that helps spread this word becomes light for someone standing at their own crossroads. As the word says, I send you as a light to the nations, and that light moves through willing hands. I feel led to tell you plainly, when you support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, the links are waiting in the description. You are sowing into interception, not content. You are placing oil in the lamp so the warning reaches those who would otherwise sleep through their turning point. This is a prophetic moment to act, not hesitate. As you give, I declare multiplication over your resources, clarity over your decisions, and protection over your household. Obey the stirring now, and let heaven record your obedience. Beloved one, as the atmosphere settles after revelation, Archangel Michael speaks again with a steadier tone, because now comes understanding. Warnings awaken you, but understanding anchors you. Without understanding, urgency fades. With understanding, alignment stays. What happened was not just an intercepted attack. It was a lesson in how destiny is guarded when you remain responsive to heaven. Archangel Michael wants you to know that not every spiritual challenge arrives to oppose you. Some arrive to reveal where authority already exists. You are not as vulnerable as the enemy assumed. In fact, the attempt itself exposed how much ground you already occupy. Darkness only tests borders it wants to cross. It does not waste effort where there is no value. There is something changing in how you carry yourself spiritually. You may not notice it consciously yet, but others will. Your presence will feel firmer, clearer, less negotiable. This is not arrogance. This is rootedness. When someone knows who they are becoming, confusion no longer has permission to speak loudly. Archangel Michael says, "Your authority matured quietly," and quiet maturity confuses opposition. You have spent years learning through pressure rather than applause. Lessons came through delay, not shortcuts. That is why your discernment runs deep. You may have envied people whose path looks smoother, but smooth paths do not always produce strength. Yours produced endurance, patience, and the ability to hear God even when answers were delayed. Those traits are rare. They cannot be copied. Now comes a critical awareness. Destiny is not only threatened by attacks, it is also tested by opportunities. Not every open door is divine. Some doors open to see if you will walk through them without asking. Archangel Michael is sharpening your ability to pause before movement. The pause is not hesitation. It is consultation with heaven. In the coming days, you may feel prompted to slow down where you once rushed, and to act boldly where you once delayed. This reversal is intentional. Heaven is rebalancing your instincts. Where fear once made you cautious, faith will now make you decisive. Where impatience once made you impulsive, wisdom will now make you still. This is how alignment deepens. You are also being taught how to protect your energy without guilt. Saying no does not require justification. Rest does not require explanation. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates. They decide what enters and what stays out. Archangel Michael stands at those gates with you now, not to isolate you, but to preserve what God is building. There is a subtle grief you may feel as you release certain expectations, not because they were sinful, but because they were familiar. Familiar does not always mean aligned. Sometimes God removes what you have learned to manage so He can give you what you are meant to steward. Management drains. Stewardship multiplies. Archangel Michael reminds you that obedience is not proven in grand gestures but in daily posture. How you think when no one is watching. How you respond when things do not go your way. How you treat silence when answers take longer than expected. These are the places where destiny is either strengthened or strained. You are doing better than you think. The reason heaven intervenes so directly is because you are nearing a season where clarity will attract attention. When light increases, eyes follow. Some will be drawn for the right reasons. Others will observe quietly. This is why discernment must stay sharp. Not everyone who praises you understands you, and not everyone who questions you opposes you. Wisdom will help you tell the difference. Archangel Michael says, "Stay teachable but not impressionable." There is a difference. Do not feel pressure to explain yourself in this season. Explanations invite opinions. Alignment requires obedience, not consensus. Those who are meant to walk with you will recognize the shift without needing a speech. Those who are not may grow uncomfortable without knowing why. Let them. Heaven is not asking you to fight. It is asking you to stand. Standing is powerful when it is done in truth. You do not need to defend what God is defending. You do not need to argue for what God has already approved. As night approaches, choose rest without replaying the warning. The warning has already done its work. Now comes trust. Trust does not mean forgetting what you learned. It means believing that protection continues even when you are not actively thinking about it. Archangel Michael does not clock out. His watch does not depend on your awareness. Something is being arranged while you sleep. Conversations are shifting. Delays are being rerouted. What tried to slow you down will now unintentionally position you better than before. This is how God redeems interference. Hold this in your heart. You are not surviving spiritually. You are stabilizing. And stability is what allows growth without collapse. The foundation is setting. The noise is fading. The path is narrowing, not to trap you, but to guide you clearly. Archangel Michael remains near, not because danger is constant, but because destiny is active. And active destinies are escorted carefully. What comes next will not feel like a warning at all. It will feel like clarity. Beloved child, now the message deepens, because Archangel Michael is not only guarding your path, he is teaching you how to walk it with awareness. Protection without understanding creates dependence, but protection with wisdom creates authority. Heaven is not raising you to be fragile. Heaven is training you to be grounded, steady, and unmovable even when pressure rises. What you are entering is a season where discernment will matter more than speed. Things will begin to move again, but not all at once. God often restores momentum gradually so the soul can adjust without shock. If everything shifted overnight, your heart would race ahead of your spirit. So instead, clarity will come in layers. Each layer will confirm the last. Archangel Michael says, you are being trusted with foresight. The foresight is different from fear. Fear imagines loss. Foresight prepares for purpose. You may notice that your tolerance for chaos is decreasing. Environments that once felt manageable now feel draining. Conversations that once seemed harmless now feel heavy. This is not because you are becoming weak. It is because your spirit is becoming refined. Refinement changes appetite. What once sustained you can no longer satisfy you. There is also a growing sensitivity in you, not emotional fragility, but spiritual perception. You are sensing undertones, motives, and timing more clearly. Sometimes you will not be able to explain why something feels off, only that it does. That is enough. Discernment does not always come with details. It often comes as restraint. Archangel Michael wants you to understand this clearly. You do not owe everyone access to your process. Growth is not a performance. Some transformations must stay hidden until they are stable. Just because people are curious does not mean they are called to comment. Silence in this season is not secrecy. It is stewardship. You are also learning the difference between being available and being assigned. Being available means anyone can reach you. Being assigned means only what is aligned gets through. Heaven is shifting you from availability to assignment. This will feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to being dependable for everyone. But destiny requires prioritization. There may be moments when you feel misunderstood, when your restraint is read as distance, when your clarity is read as coldness. Let that pass. Misunderstanding is often the cost of obedience. You cannot be deeply aligned and widely understood at the same time. Even angels are misunderstood by humans, yet they continue their assignment without explanation. Archangel Michael says, do not shrink to be digestible. You were not meant to be consumed by every opinion. There is also healing happening quietly. Old disappointments you thought no longer affected you are loosening their grip. Not through confrontation, but through replacement. God heals by filling, not just removing. As purpose grows clearer, pain loses relevance. It does not vanish, but it no longer leads. Pay attention to what excites you again. Small sparks of anticipation are returning. Ideas that once felt heavy now feel possible. This is a sign that hope is being restored, not artificially, but organically. Hope that is forced fades quickly. Hope that rises naturally stays. Archangel Michael is also working with timing around you. Delays that once frustrated you are now becoming shields. You are being kept from premature exposure. Some doors are opening slower than you want because you are being prepared to handle what comes through them. Influence without preparation is dangerous. Heaven refuses to give you something that would harm you later. You are not being tested to see if you will fail. You are being trained to see if you will discern. There is a calm strength forming in you, a knowing that does not need validation, a peace that does not depend on outcomes. This is the kind of stability that cannot be shaken easily. Storms may still come, but they will no longer define you. As this stability grows, you will notice a shift in prayer. Less begging, more listening, less urgency, more trust. This is maturity. It does not mean you care less. It means you believe more. Faith evolves as relationship deepens. Archangel Michael wants you to remember that obedience does not always feel heroic. Sometimes it feels ordinary. Sometimes it feels boring. Sometimes it feels like doing the right thing when no one notices. But heaven notices. And heaven records consistency more than intensity. You are being positioned not just to reach something but to remain there. Arrival is not the goal. Sustaining alignment is. Many can reach a breakthrough. Few can maintain it without losing themselves. You are being prepared for sustainability. Tonight, rest with this assurance. Nothing is chasing you. Nothing is lurking. Nothing is slipping through the cracks. What needed to be stopped was stopped. What needs to be guided is being guided. And what needs to grow is growing at the right pace. Archangel Michael remains present, not because danger is near, but because destiny is unfolding step by step. And unfolding destiny is handled with care. You are safe to continue. You are clear to proceed. And what lies ahead will meet you prepared, just as you are being prepared now. Beloved soul, Archangel Michael speaks now with a tone of confirmation, because what has been forming quietly inside you is ready to be acknowledged. Awareness has shifted into confidence. Not loud confidence, not performative strength, but a settled knowing. This is the kind of confidence that does not rush ahead or lag behind. It moves when heaven moves. And that is exactly where you are being placed now. You may have noticed that your reactions are changing. Situations that once triggered anxiety now invite discernment instead. You are responding rather than reacting. This is not accidental. This is evidence that your inner alignment is stabilizing. When alignment stabilizes, chaos loses leverage. The enemy depends on emotional volatility. When peace takes root, his access points close. Archangel Michael says, you are no longer easily provoked, and that restraint is power. There is a recalibration happening in how you view time. You are beginning to understand that delays are not denials, and speed is not always progress. Some of the things you once pushed for would have exhausted you if they had arrived earlier. God protected you by slowing the process. And now, as your capacity increases, movement will feel smoother, not forced. This season is also teaching you discernment in relationships. Not everyone who supports you understands your assignment, and not everyone who understands it is meant to walk closely with you. Proximity is being adjusted. This can feel lonely at times, but it is purposeful. Destiny narrows circles before it expands influence. Jesus had many followers, fewer disciples, and an even smaller inner circle. This pattern still holds. You are not losing people. You are gaining clarity. Archangel Michael is also strengthening your spiritual hearing. Guidance will come less through dramatic signs and more through quiet conviction. You will simply know when to move and when to wait. Doubt will not dominate your decisions the way it once did. That does not mean questions disappear. It means questions no longer paralyze you. There is an invitation in this season to participate actively in what God is doing, not passively observe it. Alignment is not automatic. It is maintained. This is why your engagement matters. When you speak agreement, when you act on truth, you reinforce the direction heaven has set. If this message is resonating, do not stay silent. Like this message, share it with someone who needs grounding. Leave a comment that declares what you are receiving, and subscribe so you remain connected to what God is unfolding here. Participation strengthens positioning. Archangel Michael says that obedience expressed outwardly reinforces authority inwardly. There will be moments soon when you are tempted to revert to old patterns simply because they are familiar. Familiarity can feel safe, even when it is limiting. But you are no longer who you were when those patterns formed. Going back would not bring comfort. It would bring frustration. You have outgrown certain cycles, even if part of you remembers how to survive in them. Notice how your tolerance for compromise is fading. What you once allowed to keep peace now feels misaligned. This is not stubbornness. This is integrity rising. Integrity simplifies life. It removes the need for constant justification. When your yes is clear and your no is firm, confusion retreats. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that spiritual growth is not measured by how much you endure, but by how well you listen. Endurance without wisdom leads to burnout. Listening leads to sustainable strength. You are learning when to step back without guilt and when to step forward without fear. There is also an increase in spiritual covering around your thoughts. Mental fog is lifting. Clarity is sharpening. You may find it easier to focus, to pray, to reflect without distraction. This is not because life has become easier, but because interference has been reduced. What once crowded your mind has been quieted. Do not underestimate the importance of consistency right now. Small daily choices are anchoring you more than big declarations. Showing up when you said you would. Resting when you need to. Saying no when something feels off. These are not minor actions. They are stabilizers. If at any point you feel tempted to disengage, to scroll past, to assume you already understand this message, pause. This is where the insight deepens. What is coming next builds on what you have already received. Hold on, because the next unfolding will connect dots you did not even realize were related. Archangel Michael remains attentive, not hovering, but guarding the flow. He is ensuring that what enters your life aligns with what God has prepared in you. You are not being read, but you are being readied. There is a difference. As this part settles, remember this truth. You are not waiting for destiny to notice you. Destiny is waiting for you to stay aligned. And you are doing that better than you think. Stay present. Stay responsive. And trust that what is unfolding now is not fragile. It is established. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now brings you into a deeper layer of awareness, because the season ahead will require steadiness more than urgency. What you are stepping into is not chaotic, but it is weighty. Weight does not mean burden. It means responsibility. Heaven does not place weight on anything unstable. The fact that you are being entrusted with more is evidence that your foundation has been tested and found secure. You may begin to sense a quiet seriousness settling in your spirit. Not heaviness, not sadness, but gravity. A recognition that what lies ahead matters. This gravity will not steal your joy. It will protect it. Joy that is rooted in purpose is not easily shaken by circumstances. Archangel Michael says this is the kind of joy that remains even when outcomes are still forming. There is an internal shift happening in how you define success. Earlier seasons trained you to measure progress by visible movement. Now you are learning to measure it by alignment. You will feel successful not because things are moving fast, but because they are moving true. This change will save you from unnecessary striving. You no longer need to prove your worth through motion. Your worth is already established. Archangel Michael says, you are learning to walk without leaning. This does not mean independence from God. It means dependence has matured into partnership. You are also becoming more comfortable with silence. Silence no longer feels like absence. It feels like space. Space to hear clearly. Space to rest without guilt. Space to respond thoughtfully instead of reflexively. Discomfort with silence will become one of your greatest strengths, because it allows wisdom to rise without being rushed. There will be moments when others misunderstand your pace. Some may think you are holding back. Others may assume you are disengaged. Let them think what they need to think. Alignment often looks like hesitation to those who are driven by urgency. But you are no longer driven by pressure. You are guided by peace. Archangel Michael is also adjusting how you carry responsibility. You are being taught that not every outcome rests on your shoulders. Faith is not control. Faith is trust expressed through obedience. When you do your part, you can release the rest without anxiety. This release is not neglect. It is wisdom. Notice how your prayers are becoming simpler. Less explaining. Less negotiating. More listening. This simplicity is not immaturity. It is intimacy. When you trust someone deeply, you do not need many words. God understands your heart even when you do not articulate every detail. There is also a subtle courage growing in you. Not the courage to confront everyone, but the courage to remain yourself even when it would be easier to blend in. You are becoming less reactive to approval and less wounded by disapproval. This balance will protect you as influence increases. Influence without emotional stability can distort purpose. Stability keeps purpose pure. Archangel Michael says, you will not lose yourself in what you are called to do, because identity is being anchored before expansion. You may begin to sense that certain doors are preparing to open, not suddenly, but deliberately. Preparation often feels like waiting, but waiting is active when it is intentional. Heaven is arranging details you cannot see yet. Conversations, timing, resources, and alignment with others are being coordinated quietly. When the door opens, it will not feel rushed. It will feel right. There is something else you need to hear clearly. The resistance you faced earlier was not a sign of weakness in your calling. It was confirmation of its relevance. But that chapter is closing. You are not entering another cycle of conflict. You are entering a cycle of clarity. Clarity reduces friction. When things are clear, opposition loses its leverage. You will still face decisions, but they will not feel confusing in the same way. You will sense direction even when outcomes are not fully visible. This is faith functioning at a mature level. Faith does not always know the details, but it knows the direction. Archangel Michael remains near, not as a guard against imminent threat, but as a witness to your growth. Angels rejoice not only over victories, but over wisdom gain. You have gained wisdom through patience, through disappointment, through obedience that went unnoticed. That wisdom now speaks for you in places you have not yet entered. Do not rush to the next moment. Let this one settle. Integration matters. What you have received must become part of how you think, not just what you remember. Transformation is complete only when it feels natural. As you move forward, you will notice that peace accompanies you more consistently. Peace will not mean absence of challenge, but presence of confidence. Confidence that you are where you are meant to be, doing what you are meant to do, becoming who you are meant to become. Archangel Michael's final word in this moment is gentle but firm. Continue. Not because you are behind, but because you are ready. And readiness, once reached, must be honored with steady steps forward. Beloved child, Archangel Michael speaks again as the atmosphere shifts from preparation into positioning. What has been forming within you is now settling into place. This is the stage where many grow impatient because the inner work feels complete, yet the outer evidence is still unfolding. But hear this clearly. Positioning always precedes manifestation. Heaven never releases what the vessel cannot yet hold steadily. You are standing at a threshold where your discernment will be tested not by pressure, but by opportunity. Opportunities can be more dangerous than obstacles when discernment is ignored. Some doors will look answered, accelerated, even convenient. But Archangel Michael reminds you that convenience is not a fruit of the Spirit. Peace is, alignment is, confirmation is, and those three together will guide you safely. Archangel Michael says, not everything that arrives quickly is sent by God. But what is sent by God will never require you to abandon wisdom to receive it. Your spirit has been trained for this moment. You have learned to listen beyond excitement. You have learned to pause without fear of missing out. This maturity is rare. Many rush because they believe delay equals loss. You now understand that delay can also equal protection. That understanding will save you from entanglements that once would have drained you. There is also a refinement happening in how you speak. Words will carry more weight now. Casual statements will feel heavier. Promises will feel sacred. This is because authority is increasing. When authority increases, heaven watches words more closely. Speak deliberately. Bless intentionally. Withdraw agreement quickly when something feels misaligned. Archangel Michael is also restoring something quietly, your confidence in hearing God for yourself. Not second-guessing every nudge. Not outsourcing every decision. Counsel still matters, but dependence is shifting. God is teaching you to trust the voice you have cultivated through obedience. Distrust will keep you grounded when opinions multiply. As clarity grows, you may notice a separation between urgency and importance. Some things will shout for attention but carry no lasting value. Others will arrive quietly but shape your future significantly. You are learning to recognize the difference. This is wisdom operating in real time. Now, stay with this moment. Do not disengage. What follows completes a pattern that began much earlier than you realize. This is where understanding locks into place. What you are sensing next will explain why your path unfolded the way it did. Archangel Michael reveals that many of the delays you resented were actually divine reroutes. You were being kept from collisions you could not yet see. If certain prayers had been answered when you wanted them to be, you would have inherited stress instead of peace. God withheld not because he was distant, but because he was precise. There is also healing happening around disappointment. Not denial of it, but release from its authority. Disappointment no longer gets to narrate your expectations. Hope is being rebuilt on truth, not wishful thinking. This hope is quieter, but stronger. It does not rise and fall with circumstances. It remains. Archangel Michael says, you are no longer driven by what you lack. You are guided by what you are becoming. As this settles, receive this activation with humility and faith. Type "I stand aligned" in the comments if your spirit is receiving this confirmation. Blessing code 6381 is now activated over your discernment, your timing, and your next steps. And now hear this, not as a separate request, but as a continuation of the assignment you are already part of. This word did not travel to you alone. It is meant to flow through you. Scripture says, "Freely you have received, freely give," and this giving is not ordinary. It is seed in fertile ground. I hear the Spirit saying, "I am placing light in your hands." When you support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not funding a channel. You are fueling clarity for souls standing where you once stood. This is sowing oil so lamps do not go out in critical moments. Do not delay obedience when your spirit is stirred. I declare that every seed you release now will return as multiplied peace, sharpened discernment, and divine protection over what concerns you. Act with faith, and let heaven record your partnership. Beloved one, as the message unfolds further, Archangel Michael now speaks with a tone of assurance, because what you are entering requires confidence without haste. This stage is not about learning something new, but about living from what you already know. Revelation has been given. Alignment has been restored. And now comes embodiment. What you carry internally must become how you move externally. You may notice that life is beginning to feel quieter in a strange way. Not empty, not dull, but uncluttered. The noise that once competed for your attention is losing volume. This is intentional. Clarity thrives in simplicity. Heaven often removes excess before it releases increase. What is unnecessary fades, so what is essential can stand clearly. Archangel Michael says, "You are no longer being pulled in many directions. Focus is being restored." This focus does not mean your world will shrink. It means your energy will stop leaking. When energy is preserved, effectiveness increases. You will accomplish more with less effort because you are no longer divided internally. Unity within produces authority without. There is also a strengthening happening in your resolve. You are becoming less susceptible to emotional highs and lows. Praise will not inflate you. Criticism will not dismantle you. This balance is critical because instability invites manipulation. Stability repels it. When your identity is anchored, external voices lose power over your decisions. Archangel Michael is teaching you to recognize when something is simply noise. Not every thought deserves engagement. Not every feeling deserves interpretation. Wisdom knows what to observe and what to release. You are gaining that wisdom now. Mental discipline is increasing. Peace is becoming a default, not a struggle. You may begin to sense a deeper respect for your own limits. Rest will feel productive instead of wasteful. Solitude will feel nourishing instead of lonely. This shift is important. It does not come from doing too much. It comes from doing too much without alignment. You are learning to function from alignment, not obligation. There is also an invitation to trust the pace of what is unfolding. Impatience will try to whisper that nothing is happening because movement is not visible yet. But roots grow before branches spread. What is happening underground determines what can stand above ground. You are in a rooting phase that will support longevity, not just visibility. Archangel Michael says, "What lasts is being built, and what lasts is never rushed." As this season continues, you may notice that your discernment sharpens in unexpected moments. A conversation may suddenly feel off. An opportunity may lose its shine. A path may feel heavy without explanation. Trust these impressions. You do not need full understanding to honor restraint. Restraint is often the voice of wisdom speaking quietly. There will also be moments of confirmation. Small signs of alignment. Peaceful outcomes. Doors closing gently instead of forcefully. These are indicators that heaven is guiding rather than correcting. Your action feels abrupt. Guidance feels steady. You are experiencing guidance now. Archangel Michael wants you to release the idea that destiny must always feel dramatic. Some of the most significant shifts happen calmly. Drama is not proof of importance. Consistency is. The kingdom of God often advances quietly, like seed growing in soil. You do not hear it grow, but you see the result. Your faith is maturing into trust. The faith reaches for what it hopes for. Trust rests in what it knows. You are beginning to trust God's character, not just His promises. This trust will anchor you when circumstances fluctuate. When you trust character, unanswered questions do not unsettle you. There is also a subtle joy returning. Not excitement tied to outcomes, but contentment tied to alignment. Contentment does not mean settling. It means being at peace while moving forward. This kind of joy protects your heart from comparison. Comparison steals gratitude. Gratitude sustains momentum. Archangel Michael reminds you that you do not need to announce every step. Quiet obedience carries its own authority. Heaven recognizes movement even when people do not. Promotion that comes from God does not need self-advertisement. It arrives when readiness meets timing. If you feel moments of stillness ahead, do not interpret them as stagnation. Stillness is often the final preparation before motion. Muscles tense before movement. Silence gathers strength. What feels like pause is actually poised readiness. Archangel Michael remains attentive, not intervening loudly, but observing closely. His presence now is less about defense and more about escort. You are being escorted into a phase where your choices carry greater influence, even when they seem ordinary. Take comfort in this truth. You are not trying to reach something uncertain. You are walking into something prepared. Prepared for you. Prepared with you in mind. Nothing ahead is random. Nothing behind was wasted. As this part concludes, allow peace to settle deeper. Not because everything is finished, but because everything is held. You are not carrying your future alone. Heaven is invested. Guidance continues. Protection remains. And the path forward is steady, clear, and unfolding exactly as it should. Beloved child, Archangel Michael speaks now with clarity that feels firm yet reassuring, because you are entering a stretch where consistency will matter more than intensity. This is not a season of dramatic leaps, but of steady movement. Many people fail here, not because they lack faith, but because they underestimate the power of staying aligned when things feel calm. Calm does not mean inactive. Calm means ordered. You may notice that temptations to overthink are trying to return. Thoughts that ask, am I really moving forward? Or shouldn't something be happening by now? These thoughts are not warnings. They are echoes of an old mindset that equated pressure with progress. But Archangel Michael says progress is happening precisely because pressure has lifted. You are no longer being pushed. You are being led. Archangel Michael says, what is led by God does not need to be forced. And forcing what God is leading only creates resistance. This is a season where your discipline will quietly define your future. Small routines, consistent prayer, thoughtful decisions, yarded speed. None of these will feel extraordinary in the moment, but together they are building something immovable. Destiny is often secured through ordinary faithfulness rather than extraordinary moments. There is also an important shift in how you handle uncertainty. Earlier, uncertainty felt threatening. Now it feels neutral. You are learning that not knowing everything does not mean nothing is known. Direction can be clear even when details are still hidden. This comfort with partial understanding is a sign of deep trust. Archangel Michael is also reminding you that alignment requires participation, not passivity. Staying connected matters. When you engage with what God is speaking, by responding, by sharing, by declaring agreement, you strengthen your spiritual posture. If this message continues to confirm what you are sensing, take a moment to like it, share it, and leave a comment declaring what you are receiving. Subscribe so you remain anchored to this flow of timely clarity. Staying connected is not routine. It is reinforcement. Your engagement is not small. Agreement spoken aloud carries weight. There will be moments ahead when old distractions attempt to resurface, not because they have power, but because they are familiar. Familiarity can be comforting even when it is unproductive. But you are no longer drawn to what drains you. Your appetite has changed. You now crave what builds rather than what numbs. Archangel Michael says, your discernment has outgrown your distractions. A once tempted you will soon bore you. You are also becoming more intentional with your time. Wasted time feels heavier now, not because you are anxious, but because you are aware. Awareness is a gift. It helps you steward moments wisely. You are beginning to sense when something deserves your attention and when it does not. This discernment will protect your energy as responsibility increases. There is another truth you must receive gently. Growth will not always be affirmed immediately. Some of the most important shifts in your life will be invisible to others. Do not measure progress by applause. Measure it by peace. Peace that remains even when recognition is absent is a sign of alignment. Archangel Michael is guarding you from comparison. Comparison would distort your pace. Everyone's assignment unfolds differently. What looks slow to one person is precise to another. You are not late. You are not early. You are on time for your path. If at any point you feel tempted to disengage, to assume you already understand everything being said, pause. This is where understanding deepens. What follows connects threads that have been forming quietly over time. Hold on, because this next movement brings insight that will matter later more than it does right now. Your confidence is stabilizing, not the kind that needs reassurance, but the kind that remains steady even when outcomes fluctuate. This confidence will allow you to lead, influence, and decide without internal chaos. Chaos clouds judgment. Peace sharpens it. Archangel Michael also wants you to release the idea that destiny must always feel intense. Sometimes destiny feels simple. Sometimes it feels like doing the next right thing without fanfare. This simplicity is not a downgrade. It is refinement. Refined paths are easier to walk without stumbling. As you continue forward, trust that correction will come gently if needed. You are no longer being yanked back into alignment. You are being nudged. This is a sign of maturity. Children need firm correction. Partners receive guidance. You are being treated as a partner in purpose. Let this part settle into your heart. Not as information, but as orientation. You know where you are facing now. You know what you are saying yes to and what you are leaving behind. That clarity will guide you more than emotion ever could. Archangel Michael remains present, steady, and watchful, not because danger is imminent, but because influence is increasing. And increased influence requires continued alignment. Continue forward with confidence. The path is clear, and what is ahead is ready for you. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now speaks with a tone of quiet certainty, because what is unfolding no longer needs to be announced loudly. You have crossed from preparation into posture. Posture is how you carry what you have been given. It determines whether purpose becomes pressure or peace. And right now, your posture is being refined so that what is coming will not overwhelm you. You may notice that your inner dialogue has changed. You are no longer negotiating with fear the way you once did. Doubt may still knock, but it no longer has a seat at the table. This is not because doubt disappeared, but because authority has taken its place. Authority does not argue. It decides. That shift alone changes how everything responds to you. Archangel Michael says, you are no longer bracing for impact. You are standing with expectation, not tension. Expectation rooted in trust feels different from anticipation driven by anxiety. Anxiety tightens. Trust opens. You are learning to expect good without gripping outcomes. This balance is rare. Many either hope without grounding or control without peace. You are being taught the narrow way between the two. There is also a strengthening happening in how you interpret resistance. Resistance no longer feels personal. It feels informational. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You are beginning to ask, what is this teaching me? That shift moves you from victimhood to stewardship. Stewards do not panic when challenges arise. They assess, adjust, and continue. Archangel Michael is helping you release emotional attachment to timelines. Timelines once defined your sense of progress. Now they are becoming flexible markers instead of rigid expectations. Flexibility does not mean lack of vision. It means trust in divine sequencing. God's order does not rush you, but it also does not waste time. You may sense a growing reverence for obedience. Obedience no longer feels like restriction. It feels like alignment. When alignment becomes your motivation, obedience feels natural instead of forced. You are not obeying to avoid consequences. You are obeying because you understand direction. There is also a deepening humility taking root. Not insecurity, not self-doubt, but accurate self-awareness. You know what you carry, and you know what you still need to learn. This humility will protect you as influence grows. Pride isolates. Humility keeps channels open. Archangel Michael says, you will remain teachable without becoming unsure. That balance preserves wisdom. As this season continues, you may experience moments where things simply work without struggle. Conversations align. Decisions come easily. Peace confirms choices quickly. Do not be suspicious of ease. Ease does not mean absence of effort. It means absence of resistance. When you are aligned, effort produces fruit instead of fatigue. There may also be moments of testing, not to see if you will fail, but to see if you will revert. Old reactions may try to resurface out of habit. When they do not condemn yourself. Simply choose differently. Growth is proven by correction speed, not perfection. You are also becoming more aware of how your presence affects environments. Rooms feel different when you enter. Conversations shift tone. Tension eases or becomes visible. This is not something to manage consciously. It is a byproduct of alignment. When inner order is established, it influences outer spaces naturally. Archangel Michael is reminding you that spiritual maturity does not announce itself. It reveals itself over time through consistency. People will not always know why they trust you, why they feel safe around you, or why your words carry weight. They will just know. That knowing is influence born from integrity. Here is a quiet invitation in this moment to release the last traces of striving. Striving once kept you moving, but now it would only drain you. You no longer need to push doors open. You are learning to recognize when a door opens because it was unlocked for you. Archangel Michael says, what is meant for you responds to your presence. You do not have to chase it. You may feel a subtle grief as you let go of the version of yourself that survived through effort alone. Honor that version. It carried you through what you did not yet understand. But it does not need to lead anymore. Wisdom now leads. Peace now sets the pace. As you approach the next unfolding, remain grounded in gratitude. Gratitude anchors joy. Joy sustains strength. Strength keeps discernment sharp. This cycle will serve you well in what comes next. Archangel Michael remains attentive, not intervening dramatically, but affirming quietly. Heaven is not on high alert anymore. It is on steady watch. That is a good sign. It means things are ordered. Take this moment to breathe without urgency. You are not missing anything. You are not falling behind. You are exactly where growth transitions into fruitfulness. And what comes next will not surprise you the way earlier moments did. You will feel familiar in the best way, like something you were always meant to step into. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks with finality and fulfillment, because this cycle is sealing. What began as an urgent interception has become a completed alignment. You are not standing at the edge of uncertainty anymore. You are standing within clarity. This does not mean every detail is visible, but it does mean your footing is secure. Heaven does not close a chapter until what needed to be learned hath been integrated, and you have integrated it well. There is a calm authority resting on you now. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that commands respect without effort. This authority was not given suddenly. It was formed patiently. Every delay, every moment of restraint, every choice to listen instead of react shaped it. You are carrying something steady now, something that will not fracture under pressure. Archangel Michael says, what was almost redirected is now reinforced. Your destiny did not just recover. It strengthened. You may sense a release in your spirit, like something has finally settled. This is closure. Not the kind that erases the past, but the kind that redeems it. What once felt confusing now feels instructive. What once felt painful now feels purposeful. Meaning has replaced noise. As you move forward, you will notice that fear no longer has the same access it once did. It may still appear, but it will not dominate. Fear thrives on uncertainty. Clarity stars it. And clarity is what you have received. You know who you are listening to now. You know what alignment feels like. That knowing will guide you even when circumstances shift. Archangel Michael is also affirming that protection remains active, but it will feel less noticeable. Not because it has weakened, but because you have matured. Just as a child needs constant supervision and an adult moves with learned awareness, you are now walking with internalized wisdom. Heaven trusts what it has cultivated in you. There is also an activation of peace that goes beyond emotion. This peace will remain even when challenges arise. It is not fragile. It is grounded. You will respond instead of panic. You will assess instead of assume. This composure will open doors that force never could. Archangel Michael says, you are ready to steward what is coming. Readiness is not perfection. It is responsiveness. Do not look back wondering how close you came to losing direction. Look forward knowing how intentionally you were preserved. Preservation is proof of purpose. God does not preserve what He does not plan to use. And you are being prepared not just for yourself, but for impact that reaches beyond what you can currently see. This message ends not with suspense but with assurance. You are not waiting for alignment anymore. You are walking in it. Your steps may still be measured, but they are sure. Your pace may still be steady, but it is intentional. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is missing. Now receive this final sealing with faith. Type "I walk in divine timing" in the comments if your spirit agrees. Blessing code 8049 is now released over your future, your discernment, and every door God has prepared for you. And before this moment closes, hear this as a sacred charge, not a request. This word did not reach you alone. It was entrusted to you. Scripture declares, "I have made you a watchman, and watchmen do not stay silent when light is needed." I hear the Spirit saying, this is the moment to sow so others do not miss their interception. When you support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, the links are placed in the description. You are responding prophetically, not financially. You are placing fire on the altar so the warning continues to reach those standing where you once stood. Do not delay obedience when heaven prompts you. I speak blessing over every giver now. May your obedience return as multiplied provision, guarded pathways, and unshakable peace. Act now, partner with this assignment, and let heaven record your yes.